This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Good morning, I'm John Trout. It's Tuesday, June 3rd, 2025. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
Charges filed in an act of terrorism in Colorado.
When he was interviewed about the attack, he said he wanted them all to die.
I'm Clayton Neville.
ICE racks up the detention numbers.
We're doing the job that ICE should have been doing all along.
I'm Rich Johnson.
The Supreme Court will not hear a challenge to Maryland's assault weapons ban. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
The current governor of the state of New York faces a primary challenge from an unlikely candidate.
On Wall Street, June starts off with a winning day for stocks, even with the China trade war. I'm Jessica Ettinger.
An aging Pennsylvania power plant ordered to stay online. We'll tell you why. And will Harvey Weinstein take the witness stand? All ahead on America in the Morning. The suspect who entered the United States on a work visa that had expired and is now accused of firebombing a group of pro-Israel demonstrators in Boulder, Colorado, told investigators he'd do it again. Correspondent Clayton Neville has the latest on the Egyptian national and what authorities confirm as an act of terror.
Videos from the attack at the Pearl Street Mall in Boulder show a man shirtless, yelling "Free Palestine," among other phrases, threatening to burn the small group of pro-Israeli demonstrators. Police in Boulder say before the attack, the event was peaceful.
I wouldn't even call it a protest. I believe that happens frequently down here.
4 women and 4 men between 52 and 88 years old taken to hospitals after the attack. Other victims included an 88-year-old Holocaust refugee.
When he was interviewed about the attack, he said he wanted them all to die. He had no regrets.
Bishop Gruhl is the acting U.S. Attorney for the District of Colorado and announced 45-year-old Mohammed Salman, an Egyptian national, named as the attacker.
He said that he had previously tried to purchase a firearm, but resorted to the Molotov cocktails when he could not purchase a gun because he was not a legal citizen.
According to Gruhl, Salman had been planning the attack for a year.
And he acted because he hated what he called the Zionist group.
This individual, this terrorist, was allowed into this country by the previous administration, was foolishly given a tourism visa, and then was illegally allowed to stay. These individuals are going to be deported, and we're not going to tolerate such violence in our country.
The White House now responding. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt spoke with Fox News.
This absolutely is an act of targeted terrorism. The FBI and the Department of Justice are investigating it as such.
President Trump said on social media that the attack won't be tolerated in the U.S. He added that acts of terrorism will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. He said this is yet another example of why we have to secure the border.
The president is going to ensure that this individual is held to the fullest extent of the law.
Authorities say Salman entered the U.S. in 2022 on a work visa that's expired. He's also said to have overstayed a tourist visa. After a Monday court appearance, Salman officially charged with attempted murder, assault, and a federal hate crime. I'm Clayton Neville.
In Boston, the acting head of U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement is praising his agents for a very busy month of May. ICE agents detained more than 1,400 people in Massachusetts last month. Correspondent Rich Johnson reports that people around New England are paying close attention to one of those arrests.
Acting ICE Director Todd Lyons told reporters Monday he's pleased with the recent immigration enforcement surge in the Bay State.
We're doing the job that ICE should have been doing all along, and that we enforce all immigration laws.
Lyons says of the more than 1,400 arrested in Massachusetts last month, nearly 800 were charged with or convicted of crimes in the U.S. or abroad. About 700 had no criminal history but for living here illegally. One of those people is 18-year-old Marcelo Gomes, a high school senior in Milford, Massachusetts. He was taken into custody while driving to volleyball practice.
Everyone gets due process, and that is what the U.S. Attorney's Office for. It's what the immigration courts are for. They all do that. He will go in front of an immigration judge. He'll have the opportunity to post bond.
But Marcelo's Milford High classmates are having a hard time processing their friend's detention.
He lights up every room he walks into.
He loves God. He loves volleyball.
He's an honors student in honors and AP classes.
I don't understand why they targeted Marcelo.
Those comments courtesy of WJAR-TV in Providence. ICE agents were targeting Marcelo's father, the registered owner of the car that Marcelo was driving. The father's not yet in custody. The family came to the U.S. illegally when Marcelo was 5, and he grew up in Milford. Massachusetts Governor Maura Healey says that appears to be Marcello's only crime.
Unless ICE has additional information that would substantiate that this individual had some criminal involvement, he should be released.
May's arrest surge in Massachusetts included about 40 people on the island of Martha's Vineyard. One of those was a man awaiting trial on a rape charge. If that man's deported, the rape trial won't happen. WCVB in Boston talked to a woman who says she was denied justice when her alleged rapist was deported, and she says that is no solution.
Just because you're ridding this country of a menace, you're giving it to another country to deal with. The problem doesn't just go away.
I'm Rich Johnson.
A spokesperson for ICE said out of the 1,461 people apprehended last month, nearly 800 were described as having significant criminality, and 277 faced removal orders issued by immigration judges. When we return on America in the Morning, political bedfellows, the New York governor's race, after these messages. You're with America in the Morning and this severe weather update from AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
Severe weather once again formed across the western plains states from West Texas northward to easternmost Colorado into Wyoming and Nebraska before shifting eastward through the night. This system will continue to provide showers and a heavy gusty thunderstorm through the plains states into the Great Lakes. Even early this morning, we'll have some heavier rain and thunderstorms covering parts of Minnesota, southward through Nebraska into Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas. And there will be additional development of thunderstorms during the afternoon and tonight through central Texas, northward through Oklahoma and eastern Kansas, and then stretching eastward into western Missouri, and then back to the north into eastern Iowa, northwest Illinois, and much of Wisconsin. These storms will once again produce damaging winds, large hail, flash flooding, and even a tornado. The storms will then move slowly eastward tonight into Michigan, the rest of Illinois, Missouri, and western Arkansas. This A system is going to produce some rain to start the day across eastern Colorado. And then farther west into Utah and western Colorado, there will also be a few thunder showers. The clouds and rain will lead to a very cool day. Florida will also have some drenching rain as a stalled front and weak tropical disturbance provide support for that development. AccuWeather hurricane experts are watching this feature for a possible development later this week. The rest of the southeast and the eastern Great Lakes into the northeast will have hazy sunshine today with smoke from the Canadian wildfires obscuring the sky. It'll also be warming up with highs in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. That's the weather across America. It's going to be very warm in Nashville, Tennessee with some hazy sunshine and a high of 91. It'll be quite cool in Denver, Colorado with a little rain to start the day and then clouds breaking for some sun and a high of 59. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
You can follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. The U.S. Supreme Court has made a decision regarding a Maryland assault weapons law. Details from Washington correspondent Sagar Meghani.
The Supreme Court will not hear a challenge to Maryland's assault weapons ban. The law passed after the 2012 Sandy Hook massacre in Connecticut, where the shooter used a firearm commonly referred to as an assault weapon. The challenge to Maryland's law argued people have a constitutional right to own weapons such as the AR-15. The High Court turned down the challenge, but 3 conservative justices noted they would have taken the case. A fourth says he's skeptical such a ban are constitutional, indicating the High Court may soon take another look. This case comes 2 years after a landmark ruling expanding Second Amendment rights, leading to challenges of firearms laws nationwide. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
Big surprise in New York politics as current governor Kathy Hochul found out she has a primary challenger in the state's 2026 Democratic race for the Empire State's highest office. That challenger is her current lieutenant governor, Antonio Delgado, an extremely rare move by a lieutenant governor to challenge a sitting incumbent. In a campaign video he released, Delgado also took a swipe at his current boss, saying that what New York needs right now is bold, decisive, transformational leadership. While the governor's approval rating in a recent Siena College poll were holding slightly in positive territory, The survey indicated a majority of New Yorkers would still prefer someone else to win the 2026 election for governor in New York. The state of Illinois increases taxes on sports bets, and EV auto sales down worldwide. Those stories part of business when America in the Morning continues after these messages. The Business Report is brought to you by Fisher Investments. Fisher Investments takes a disciplined approach with investing, helping clients navigate volatile markets. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com. With the Tuesday Report, here's CNBC's Jessica Ettinger.
On Wall Street, June starts off with a winning day for stocks, even with the China trade war. I'm Jessica Ettinger. Wall Street opens this morning after starting June trading yesterday slightly higher for the major averages. The Dow yesterday had been down 400 points, but it recovered to finish 35 points higher.
The market still remains very sensitive to headlines in both directions as it relates to trade. So I don't think there's a whole lot you can do here, but we are definitely advocating for staying fully invested.
Wilmington Trust's Megan Hsu on CNBC. Gold at its highest since May 8th. It closed yesterday just below $3,400 an ounce. Investors are hopeful that something will get done between the U.S. and China on trade.
Look, I think people are very beleaguered by the fact that there's the trade talk seems to have gotten worse, not better. With China.
That's CNBC Mad Money host Jim Cramer. The White House says President Trump will likely speak with China's president this week.
A senior White House official telling CNBC that President Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping are likely to speak this week. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt later confirmed that reporting. Simply the fact that a call could be close is still an optimistic sign. Remember, the last time the two leaders spoke was shortly before the inauguration.
CNBC's Megan Casella. Sports betting stocks slid yesterday. State lawmakers in Illinois looking for revenue from the industry. Investors are worried that other states might tax sports betting companies too.
Sports betting stocks taking a hit after Illinois lawmakers proposed a tax increase on sports bets in their 2026 budget, 25 cents per wager for licensed businesses' first 20,000 wagers accepted, and then 50 cents per wager after that amount. DraftKings, Flutter getting hit on that news.
CNBC's Sarah Eisen. Flutter owns FanDuel. Tesla sales are still dropping in Europe, and shares were dropping yesterday.
Yeah, these are ugly numbers. Any way you look at it, we're getting the May sales results for electric vehicles from a number of countries. They're not good for Tesla. Major double-digit declines. Portugal, France, Sweden, Denmark. You get the picture here.
CNBC's Phil LeBeau. Campbell's reported better than expected quarterly results. More office space is being removed than added in the U.S. This is the first time this has happened in at least 25 years.
More office space is being removed than added, thereby shrinking the office footprint. This according to exclusive new data from CBRE. Office vacancies, of course, soared to a record high during the pandemic, and they still hover right around that. Office leasing activity increased 18% in Q1 year over year, and developers have also another 85 million square feet of office space being readied for conversion in the next few years.
CNBC's Diana Olick. On today's watch list, we get a number of earnings reports from names like CrowdStrike, Dollar General, and Signet Jewelers.
Thank you, CNBC's Jessica Ettinger. When we return on America in the Morning, aging Pennsylvania power plant can't shut down. And Weinstein back in court. Those stories after these messages. The Department of Energy is ordering a Pennsylvania power plant to delay its closure through the end of the summer. Correspondent Lisa Dwyer explains. The government has serious concerns that without the aging electricity facility, there's the potential for power disruptions in an area covering 13 states.
The U.S. Department of Energy is ordering an oil and gas power plant south of Philadelphia to keep its turbines running through the summer as a precaution against what they say will be electricity shortfalls in the mid-Atlantic grid and to prevent possible blackouts. The plant on the Delaware River was supposed to shut down Saturday. The order keeps it running until August 28th. The administration cites concerns about the shutting down of aging power plants as the demand for electricity continues to rise. The department took a similar step last week, ordering a coal-fired plant in Michigan to stay open past its shutdown date as well. Some industry analysts say there is already enough supply to accommodate those shutdowns. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
Disgraced movie mogul Harvey Weinstein doesn't plan to testify at his sex crimes retrial in New York City. Following the proceedings, correspondent Julie Walker.
As disgraced movie mogul Harvey Weinstein's retrial on sex assault and rape charges winds down in New York, his lawyer says the 73-year-old will not testify in his own defense. That means closing arguments are set for Tuesday without the former Hollywood honcho taking the witness stand. Weinstein also did not testify at previous trials in New York and California. His 2020 New York conviction was overturned, and he's appealing the California conviction. Weinstein maintains any sex acts were consensual and denies all the charges. Julie Walker, New York.
America in the Morning for Tuesday, June 3rd, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. Coming up this half hour.
More information being learned about the immigration status of the man jailed in this week's terror attack in Colorado. I'm Clayton Neville.
Russia and Ukraine have ended their latest round of peace talks in Turkey. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
New details emerge about an Oregon stabbing spree. Where there's smoke, there's Canadian wildfires. And Donald Trump wants a uranium plant to open, but there's a twist.
Over $100 million in reparations regarding the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre. I'm Sue Aller.
Happy Gilmore 2 tees up for the summer with a new trailer and release date. I'm Kevin Carr.
Back after these messages. AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy has the forecast on America in the Morning.
Florida is looking at another round of drenching rainfall today as a weak front stalled out in the area and a tropical disturbance provides support for the development of thunderstorms. AccuWeather hurricane experts are watching this feature for possible strengthening later this week. The rest of the southeast into the eastern Great Lakes and northeast will have hazy sunshine today with the smoke from Canadian wildfires obscuring the sky. It will otherwise be warming up in these areas with 70s in New England, but 80s and 90s for most everyone else. Smoke from these same fires will be a larger concern over the northern plains again today from the eastern Dakotas into Minnesota and northwest Wisconsin. These locations will have a diminished air quality. Farther south through the rest of the plain states, a storm system will provide showers and heavy gusty thunderstorms. Early this morning, some heavier thunderstorms will develop over parts of Minnesota, southward through Nebraska into Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas. And then we'll look for additional development this afternoon of thunderstorm activity through central Texas, northward through Oklahoma, into eastern Kansas, and then stretching eastward into western Missouri, and then northward again into eastern Iowa, northwest Illinois, and much of Wisconsin. These storms can produce damaging winds, large hail, flash flooding, and even a tornado. The storms will then continue to move slowly eastward tonight into Michigan, the rest of Illinois and Missouri, and western Arkansas. This same system will also produce some rain to start the day in eastern Colorado, with a few thunder showers in parts of Utah and western Colorado. The clouds and rain are going to lead to a very cool day. And along the west coast, it will be largely dry with plenty of sunshine, though we could see some afternoon activity over Southern California into Arizona and New Mexico. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
Follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. We're learning more about the man charged in the firebombing attack on a group of pro-Israel demonstrators in Boulder, Colorado, who faced a judge for his first court appearance yesterday and has a second appearance scheduled for later this week. Following the case, Correspondent Clayton Neville.
As the fighting rages in the Middle East, the tension turning to violence in the States, too. Investigators in Boulder, Colorado say 45-year-old Egyptian national Mohammed Salman was yelling phrases like "Free Palestine" and threatening to set the pro-Israeli demonstrators on fire at the small demonstration on Pearl Street. Police have said they hadn't come across the man before the attack.
He was not on our radar in Boulder. We had no prior contacts with him here.
Boulder County District Attorney Michael Doherty said the suspect faces 16 counts.
8 of those counts are for attempted murder with intent and after deliberation. The other 8 counts are attempted murder with extreme indifference.
The FBI says 16 unused Molotov cocktails were found at the scene. Salman being held on a $10 million cash-only bond in what authorities are calling an act of terrorism. The Trump administration pointing to Salman's immigration status as he was in the U.S. illegally. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt spoke to Fox News.
This absolutely is an act of targeted terrorism. The FBI and the Department of Justice are investigating it as such, and the president is going to ensure that this individual is held to the fullest extent of the law.
Authorities say Salman entered the U.S. in 2022 on a work visa that's expired. He's also said to have overstayed a tourist visa. In a social media post, President Trump said the attack won't be tolerated in the U.S. and said acts of terrorism will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. I'm Clayton Neville.
Russia and Ukraine have ended their latest round of peace talks in Turkey with plans to exchange prisoners, but no timetable to stop the fighting. Speaking in Paris, both Democrat Senator Richard Blumenthal and Republican Lindsey Graham were in agreement that the U.S. must be more active in ending the conflict to avoid showing weakness to America's enemies, and also with concern for NATO allies in the region. Washington correspondent Sagar Meghani has more on the story.
There is bipartisan, strong support because Americans appreciate not just the affront and insult to America from President Putin, but also our national security interests. Putin will keep going if he's not stopped in Ukraine. And then we will have to put troops on the ground by virtue of our treaty obligations.
If we throw Ukraine under the bus, if we do not get a good deal, I'm not out to humiliate Russia, but a deal that ensures there'll be no third invasion and Ukraine can survive, China will see that as weakness. There goes Taiwan. Iran will be more provocative.
Russia and Ukraine have ended their latest round of peace talks in Turkey. At an Istanbul palace, Turkey's foreign minister said the world's eyes are focused on the talks, which Ukrainian leader Volodymyr Zelensky said ended after just over an hour.
They exchanged documents through the Turkish side, and we are preparing a new release of prisoners of the war.
And Ukraine's defense chief says both sides agreed to return remains of those killed in action.
6,000 to 6,000 bodies of fallen soldiers.
But there was no major breakthrough in peace efforts after a weekend of stunning attacks.
We also have stronger tactical solutions. Our Operation Spiderweb yesterday proved that Russia must feel what its losses mean. That is what will push it toward diplomacy.
Kyiv says it again pitched a 30-day unconditional ceasefire. Moscow proposed a shorter truce. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
Chaos at a homeless shelter in Portland, Oregon, when a man armed with a knife began stabbing people inside and outside of a gospel mission. Correspondent Jennifer King reports as many as 11 people were hurt, some seriously.
At least 12 people were hurt and 11 hospitalized in a stabbing attack at a homeless shelter in Oregon Sunday night.
Officers arrived to find several individuals who had been stabbed inside the facility by a man with a knife, the knife measuring approximately 8 inches in size. Witnesses reported the suspect was speaking to individuals in the lobby when he produced a knife and stabbed several people. Others present who attempted to intervene in the melee were also injured.
Salem Deputy Police Chief Trevin Upkees.
The suspect, identified as Tony Latrell Williams, age 42 of Bend, exited the building and stabbed others who were sitting outside near the building.
The Union Gospel Missions Executive Director Craig Smith says the suspect was new to the shelter, had spent Saturday night there, and was about to check in for a second night when something set him off.
I saw a black man, probably between 40 and 45 years old, running through here, stabbing people, cutting them anywhere he could cut them.
Witness Alan Humphreys says the suspect was very strong and fended off multiple people who tried to stop him.
Telling us he was going to kill all of us, told us he'd kill every security guard and cop that tried to stop him.
I'm Jennifer King.
Canadian wildfires and residents in over a dozen states face respiratory concerns. When America in the Morning continues after these messages. Welcome back. Here with America in the Morning. A large swath of the nation is dealing with unhealthy air. Over 180 separate wildfires are burning in several Canadian provinces, with half of those still deemed out of control. The smoke north of the border is drifting south into the United States, and an area from Minnesota to Michigan down to South Carolina will be dealing with haze and the likelihood of air quality alerts. In Grand Rapids, Michigan, the National Weather Service warned residents that outdoor grills, chainsaws, and ATVs have the potential to throw a spark and ignite a dangerous and destructive fire. Poor air quality means sensitive groups such as pregnant people, newborns, older adults, or those with respiratory or heart problems should limit their time outdoors. Tulsa, Oklahoma held its first Race Massacre Observance Day this year, and as correspondent Sue Aller reports, Tulsa's mayor announced a massive trust fund to honor the growth and recovery of the city's Greenwood neighborhood.
In the span of about 24 hours between May 31st and June 1st, 1921, a white mob descended on Greenwood, Oklahoma, also known as Black Wall Street, and burned it to the ground. In a landmark move towards racial justice and historical reckoning, Tulsa, Oklahoma's Mayor Monroe Nichols has announced the creation of the Greenwood Trust,
a private charitable trust that will raise and facilitate the investment of $105 million in private funds along our roads repair, restoration, and right.
A $105 million initiative designed to address the enduring legacy of the Tulsa Race Massacre and support the revitalization of North Tulsa. Heather Nash spoke with 2 News Oklahoma.
The best step in the right direction. And it's the first time we've ever heard any mayor talk about it. Really good thing. I think that's an opportunity for us to really see what happened, to learn a little bit more.
The funding will support initiatives in economic development, housing, and community programs aimed at addressing the long-term impacts of the massacre in the Black community of Greenwood. This move marks one of the most significant financial commitments made by a U.S. city in response to historic racial violence, but some community members and activists believe it's not enough. They would like to see direct cash payments to survivors and their descendants. I'm Sue Aller.
Even though President Trump is fast-tracking the opening of a Utah uranium mine, there are questions as to whether the operators would want to get production going as fast as the president would like to have it done. Correspondent Julie Walker explains.
There are hundreds of abandoned uranium mines in the western part of the U.S., reminders of the promise and peril of nuclear power during the Cold War. Now one Utah mine that the Trump administration fast-tracked for regulatory approval could reopen for the first time since the 80s. Still, more permits and approvals are needed, plus site work to get Anfield Energy's Velvet Wood mine operating again. Also, the price of uranium would have to rise enough to make domestic production financially sustainable. Meanwhile, more fast-track approvals on federal lands appear likely. Trump's order also applies to oil, gas, coal, biofuel, and hydropower, but not renewable energy. I'm Julie Walker.
Tourists visiting Europe scramble to safety after Sicily's Mount Etna erupts. Correspondent Ed Donahue reports.
One of the world's most active volcanoes is active again. Mount Etna in Sicily sent a huge cloud of smoke and ash several miles into the sky. Experts say part of the southeast crater collapsed, resulting in hot lava flows. It was the 14th eruptive phase in recent months. Despite the fiery show, local officials say it posed no danger to the population. The area of danger was confined to the summit of Etna, which was closed to tourists as a precaution. Sicily's president says lava flows emitted in the eruption had not passed the natural containment area. I'm Ed Donahue.
Amazon's streaming service, the Fire TV Stick, has taken a black eye due to its pirating live streaming content. Chuck Palm has the story in today's Tech Report.
Amazon Fire TV Sticks may be the reason that billions of dollars of streaming media has gone to video piracy. New research points fingers at Microsoft, Google, and Facebook, and saying that this is an industrial scale of theft. According to a report from the BBC labeled Video Piracy, Big Tech is clearly unwilling to address the problem. And that problem is the piracy of streaming services that they are not licensing the rights to air live in programs like sporting events. The Amazon Fire TV Stick is the device of choice since it is easy to open up, called jailbreaking. Many of the tools of these big tech platforms have not been updated in several years, allowing the piracy of this content to be easily propagated. Broadcast companies like Sky Group estimated that piracy was costing the company hundreds of millions of dollars, and big tech platforms like Facebook, Microsoft, and Google allow ads for these pirating services. For more, find me at chuckpalm.com.
America in the Morning continues with sports. Here's Robert Workman.
Monday baseball, the Tigers are the first team to 40 wins this season. They walloped the White Sox 13-1, pounding out 16 hits, including 5 home runs, 3 of them from Kerry Carpenter. Rockies topped the Marlins 6-4 to notch their 10th win of the season. Manager Warren Schaefer.
You could just feel it in the dugout that the boys were fighting all night. It's good to see them come out on top. I'm happy for the boys tonight.
It took them 60 games and a couple of home runs from Hunter Goodman, the latter a go-ahead 2-run shot in the 8th to snap an 8-game skid. Brewers have now won 8 straight after shading the Reds 3-2. Christian Yelich's long ball was the margin of victory. Angels scored 6 times in the first inning, then held on for a 7-6 win over the Red Sox. Zach Neto hit a leadoff dinger, Mike Trout blasted a 3-run shot, and Joe Adell tacked on a solo, and repeated the feat in the 6th, and that turned out to be the difference maker for Ron Washington's guys.
We needed every one of them, and that was a great explosion right there. So we put ourselves in a good position to end up holding on to the game at the end.
Elsewhere, the Twins trampled the A's 10-4, Mets dinged the Dodgers 4-3 in 10 innings, and the Padres outlasted the Giants 1-0 in 10. The 16-team Super Regional field is set for the NCAA baseball tournament, with 7 unseeded teams advancing. The top 2 seeds, Vanderbilt and Texas, were ousted over the weekend. College softball, Oklahoma's unprecedented run for one for the thumb ended in the semifinals of the Women's College World Series. The 4-time defending national champions lost to Texas Tech, so it'll be the Red Raiders and Texas in the best-of-3 championship series starting tomorrow. At the French Open, Americans Coco Gauff, the 2 seed, and number 7 Madison Keys are into the women's quarterfinals, where they will square off. But 3 seed Jessica Pegula fell to Lois Boisson, the last French player in the draw, number 361 in the world. Over on the men's side, top seed Jannik Sinner and number 6 Novak Djokovic advanced to the quarters. That's Tuesday Sports.
Thank you, Robert. And stick around as golfing's Happy Gilmore is back when America in the Morning continues after these messages. A popular voice actor who starred on TV's King of the Hill was shot to death in Texas. Correspondent Lisa Dwyer has details surrounding the incident.
Jonathan Joss, a voice actor best known for his work on the animated television series King of the Hill. was fatally shot near his Texas home. Joss's husband says the couple had been at Joss's home checking mail when a man yelled homophobic slurs at them before opening fire. The home had been damaged in a January fire that killed their 3 dogs. The San Antonio police say they have found no evidence the murder was related to Joss's sexual orientation. A suspect has been arrested and charged with murder. Joss was best known as the voice of John Redcorn, a Native American character on the popular King of the Hill animated series that ran for 13 seasons from 1997 to 2008.
Morning, John Redcorn.
Nancy, you just missed Joseph. Well, I guess you see him every day. Too much time goes by without me seeing him. Thank God for the holidays.
Yeah, about that. I just don't think it's a good idea you're coming by this Thanksgiving.
But I barely see my son since we broke up.
Shug, he's Dale's son, remember?
Say that now, but when it comes time to get him into college, let's see what box you check.
I'm Lisa Dwyer.
The saga of a down-and-out hockey player turned golfing legend will soon make its movie return, this time on streaming. Kevin Carr has details about Happy Gilmore 2.
Right about when the Memorial Tournament was wrapping up, Netflix dropped a trailer to keep people's eyes on the ball this summer.
Everyone is talking about the comeback kid.
Happy Gilmore.
Happy Gilmore.
Happy Gilmore 2 follows Adam Sandler as the title character whose career has dried up. In order to send his daughter to dance school, Happy must re-enter the game.
How are you going to put Vienna through ballet school? It's $75,000 a year. That's 4 years. That's $333,000. That's terrible math.
The trailer reveals loads of cameos like Travis Kelce, Bad Bunny, Eminem, and Post Malone. There's also a slew of familiar faces like Ben Stiller, Kevin Nealon, and Christopher McDonald as Shooter McGavin.
You stole my life from me. Why would I want to steal the life of somebody who eats?
Sandler is known for casting friends and actors he's worked with before, so he did not let Hollywood's hang-ups turn Happy into golf's Bill Belichick. Julie Bowen remains his love interest.
Let them see the Happy I fell in love with.
Bowen, now 55 and only 3 years younger than Sandler, told The Hollywood Reporter that it would not have been surprising if she didn't return.
I had heard that it was happening, and I thought, well, I won't be in it. My now 18-year-old said, Mom, I hear they're doing a sequel, and he's with Sydney Sweeney as a cart girl.
Hollywood is famous for lopsided age gaps, like Gene Kelly being 21 years older than Debbie Reynolds in Singin' in the Rain.
When I got the call that I was actually in it, I was like, are you sure?
Happy Gilmore 2 will be available on Netflix on July 25th. I'm Kevin Carr.
America in the Morning for Tuesday, June 3rd, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One.